All right, we're live, I think. If anybody's watching this, can you let me know if I've got audio? Welcome to the Solutions 8 Google Ads channel. I just tried going live a moment ago and had a bit of an audio kerfuffle, so I'm hoping that I fixed it. Hey, Bill's here. Bill, you can hear me okay? Awesome. Appreciate you. So, disclaimer, we promise a video every single day, every business day anyway, and we try to stick to that promise. The problem is I've got a backlogged queue that still need to be edited, so I'd have no videos to post today, which means I have to go live. So this is an impromptu live. I apologize first and foremost that we haven't stuck to a live schedule. We've tried our hardest, but we just have these crazy calendars that we have a difficult time contending with. So forgive us. I appreciate everybody's grace. Whenever possible, John and I are going to try to go live and answer any questions that you possibly have. So here I am. Would love to talk all things Google Ads, small business marketing, Performance Max. I'm really excited about Performance Max, by the way, and I have quite a bit to say on that topic. So as you're thinking about your questions, I've got some content that I might be pushing out in front of you all. It's probably better if we let you drive, but just in case there's a different direction that you want to take this in. Looks like we've got a handful of participants. I see Bill, Dylan, Muhammad. Appreciate y'all being here. Dave Fogel's here. What's up, Dave? Dave's always in the feed. Dave, you're not excited about PMax? Man, I think y'all, here's the thing about Performance Max is, first of all, I was wrong about everything because I've been complaining for the last 18 months that Google is intentionally taking away all of our resources, to be honest with you. Campaign management resources, it felt like they were stripping away features and functionality. And what's interesting about it is with Performance Max, they gave a lot back. They gave more back than I ever would have imagined. And I can tell now that they were just transitioning. It was like when we transitioned cars from a manual to an automatic. You see your stick shift going away and your clutch going away, and you instantly think everything else going away. But then you realize that there's more features and functionality that might be available to you now that you've brought about this new and improved device. Let's say I still drive a manual, by the way. What up, Aaron? Thanks for being here. So Dave, tell me what about PMax you don't like specifically. I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But if you think about what Google did recently, the last, 4 or 5 major changes: defaulting to data-driven attribution, prioritizing broad match, which is really interesting, what they've done with DSA, what they did with smart shopping. So much of this looks like it feeds directly into them wanting to roll out Performance Max. And you can start to see now that, hindsight being 2020, you can see how they've been pushing in this direction this entire time. Bill says, can we bid cheap for a negative keyword that have value but not worth bidding normal value? Last question, how do you bid more for good terms? What do you think have great conversion? So, Bill, can we bid cheap for a negative keyword? You can't bid on a negative keyword. You can have negative keywords in your campaign to make sure that you're not showing up for specific terms. And maybe I'm misunderstanding your question there. The last question, how do you bid more for good terms that you think have a great conversion? You want to run an exact match campaign. If you've narrowed down your search terms and know exactly what you want to target, then run an exact match search campaign. And what's interesting about exact match search campaigns is it's one of the only campaign types that, according to Google, they put out this matrix that says which campaign types are going to win. And according to Google, exact match search campaigns are one of the only campaign types that are going to beat Performance Max. And so if you've really gotten focused on exactly what search terms convert for you, then make sure you're playing the exact match game. Here's what's frustrating, and this will continue to be frustrating, is exact match doesn't mean exact match. And we're seeing more and more that Google's how aggressive they're willing to be in expansion it feels like it's getting worse. I have no data to support that other than, and it might just be, what would you call it? It might be a byproduct of the amount of time our team has spent in these campaigns and what they're seeing, but the number of irrelevant search terms that are being generated inside of exact match campaigns, it feels like it's growing. So no matter what, you'll have to continue to do your key phrase sculpting. We've also seen some issues with that as well, incidentally. And so basically, the take home message is exact match is never going to be exact match again. But in as much as you can run exact match search campaigns, and then you can get really aggressive with your bidding, especially if you know exactly what that search term is worth for you. I hope that was a good answer, Bill. Dave says, so far the cost per conversion is higher than straight search. Yeah, so to Dave's point, Performance Max for lead gen hasn't been as effective as Performance Max for e-commerce. But I think that requires us to crack the code a little bit. John has been saying for some time now that there are no more golden rules. And I really like that, but I like that, to be honest with you, because I run an agency. And so it means that we have to go in there and be strategic. But I would also like that sans being an agency owner, because it means that we get to go in and be strategic. It's no longer just like set it, forget it, let Google do its thing. With lead generation, you have to make sure that you're delivering the type of conversion that you want to Google. And I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Kasim, Google's supposed to deliver a conversion to me. I want you to flip that paradigm on its head. And I'll give you an example from my business. At Solutions 8, if you go ask for an action plan, you fill out a form, and the form is longer than you'd expect, by the way, which, a conversion rate optimization specialist would say, hey, narrow this down and you'll get more leads. I don't want more leads. I want higher quality leads. So number one, our form is a little bit longer than you'd expect. Number two, I ask a question about budget. And I say, what's your budget? And it's a radio button. And I think we have 5 options. Well, if you choose, it might be the first and the second, but it's definitely just the first. If you choose the first, we don't report that as a conversion to Google Ads. It actually goes to an entirely separate thank you page. And then I try to shuffle you off to Starter PPC, which is our sister brand that takes on low spend accounts. And we're doing this because you don't want to give Google false positives. And in this particular instance, a diluted lead quality with a low budget that can't afford our services is a false positive. So with Performance Max, it's really important to make sure that you're delivering, that you're telling Google what a good lead is for you. It's another reason to use conversion values. I've fought conversion values forever because I don't like Google knowing what I make on things. I still don't like that, by the way. I still think it's a major, major problem. But in this particular instance, it can be helpful because especially if you really know what your conversion values are, it can give Google a better sense as to how much it can afford to pay for things and what actions are worth what. What actions have what value. Dave, do you have enhanced conversions working with high level? I asked them about it, but they had no idea what I was talking about. High level is going to have a tough time, I think, with a full-on integration across the board, just because of it depends on your tech stack, really. And in this particular instance, it's going to depend on your website, and hopefully your website's not in high level. Dave, and actually maybe that's where I should start. Dave, is your website, are you using High Level's web builder, or are you using WordPress and then High Level's the CRM underneath? And then enhanced conversions using High Levels of CRM should be easy. It should be a cakewalk, because really you're just piping information right back into Google Ads. And I don't know if High Level has a direct integration yet. They probably don't. But getting that information back into Google isn't difficult at all. Bill says I answered his question. Awesome. Thank you, Bill. Aaron says exact match with max conversion / max ROAS, phrase match with target CPA and target ROAS. This works for me. That's really helpful for me to know. Running exact match campaigns with maximized conversions or maximized ROAS. That makes sense. Running phrase match, with target CPA and target ROAS. Okay, I see what you're saying, Aaron. Thank you for that. Which effective campaign you recommend for a construction company? That's for Alamagir. Honestly, it depends on what you're doing. So one of our second largest client is a construction company in the Midwest. They're in 6 or 7 different states. And I think each geography has its own campaign set up. So it's based heavily on the competitive market. I'd make sure you're running a competitive campaign, because so many of those companies are doing massive amounts of marketing. So they're running television, newspaper, radio, bandit signs, door knockers, outbounds, whatever. And they're doing a lot of brand building. So if you can go in there and you can poach the traffic for their brand, then it puts you in the position of capitalizing on, how hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing, and you get to sneak in right at the bottom of the funnel. And it depends on what it is that we're talking about too, because construction can mean a lot of things. Construction can mean foundation repair, mold remediation, but then it also means like new housing builds. So depending on what you're going after, um, if there's a competitor in the space that's doing a massive amount of marketing, try to poach their traffic. And in addition to their traffic, try to make sure to pay attention to the terms that they're using. Like you might not be using the word mold remediation, for instance, but they're using remediation, and you're a company that also helps with mold. So you go in there and start bidding on remediation. Um, Obviously, you want to go for the bottom of the funnel search campaigns, but I would make everything goal driven at this point, and that's where Performance Max is going to it's going to drive all of us into a goal driven paradigm. So make sure that you identify the goal, and the goal, obviously, in this particular instance, isn't just a quality lead, but it's a quality lead that converts. So we're talking about offline conversion tracking, and then keeping track of that throughout the entire sales process, and then attempting to maximize the value of each independent lead. And Alamagir, if you can tell me more about the construction company, what their specific service is, I can dive a little bit deeper for you. Mike says, when it comes to ecom, do you recommend building up enough conversion data via regular shopping and search campaigns, then launching a Performance Max? No. I know that sounds weird. I mean, if you've already been running Google Ads, try Performance Max and see what happens. It's unreal how effective it's been. Make sure that you've got some unique identifiers in there. If you're using a GTIN code, what we found with Smart Shopping, I don't know if this parade is over to Performance Max, but I have to imagine it does. With Smart Shopping, a GTIN on every individual product is going to give Google the ability to identify what that product is, so that you can optimize your feed. So you can change title, descriptions, images, etc., and Google still knows what it is. And that will be really helpful if you need to go in there and make feed optimizations. But with Performance Max, we're seeing unbelievable results with ecom. They're even better than Smart Shopping results, because Smart Shopping results was prioritizing your existing traffic. So Smart Shopping would prioritize branded traffic, remarketing traffic, and you got really, really solid ROAS, but a lot of that was your traffic. With Performance Max, you can actually prioritize new customer acquisition in a way that you couldn't in Smart Shopping. Smart Shopping had the ability to prioritize new customer acquisition, but it was flawed. It was actually funny that they let us do this. I'm still blown away. You could go into Google and basically change what a new customer was worth, and say, every new customer is actually worth $120 instead of, the $50 that you see in my cart, let's say. Well, that modified all the data in your entire Google Ads campaign. So if an agency wanted to lie to a customer, or an ads manager wanted to lie to a customer, they can actually go in there and modify values, and then Google would report on those modified values. But you would use that in order to trick the algorithm into thinking that this new customer is worth more than existing customers, because they are. So there was logic to the way that they deployed, but I think it gave people way, way, way too much rope. Performance Max allows for new customer acquisition as a part of, like, an integrated part of that strategy. And I'm really excited about it. Yeah, Dave's saying, I'm using landing pages and go high level with a form submit. I'd be really careful about those GHL pages. I'm a huge fan of GHL, as I'm sure all y'all know. I'm their 4th highest ranked affiliate right now. So big, love those guys. I hate their website. Their landing pages are actually pretty good. We built their funnel. But I'm not a huge fan, to be honest with you, of driving traffic straight to a funnel. I'd rather have a robust, content-rich website, because it's going to take multiple touches. I'm not telling you that funnels are dead. They're not, but they're a tough way to build a relationship. AJ says, my Google Ads is in pounds, but my ecom store is in dollars, which means the conversion value is reporting dollars and making ROAS annoying and inaccurate to track. How do I get Google to convert the value to pounds? You could do a custom column, but that would just be for yourself. AJ, I might encourage you to flip it over and just change your Google Ads account, because I have never encountered that before myself, but I can absolutely see how the currency conversion there would just be deadly. And I'm glad the ecom course is working for you. By the way, y'all, if you bought our ecom course, number 1, thank you. Number 2, there's still a massive amount of really valid content there. So I don't want you to think that what I'm about to say nullifies the value of it, but it doesn't include Performance Max. And it doesn't include Performance Max because when we shot the course, Performance Max wasn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, or what it's currently doing now. So make sure to everything that we see in the course is 100% valid, especially the tech stack setup. So, structuring your conversion actions, doing the imports, those types of things, feed optimization, etc. Just make sure that you're not ignoring Performance Max, because Performance Max isn't included in the course, because the course was shot in, I don't remember, October, November. It's crazy how quickly things move. We shot a course in November, and there's already a massive gaping hole. It's so frustrating, but I guess it's also kind of good that, that things are moving quickly, and they're at this point in our favor. Alan McGear, I know I'm mispronouncing your name, brother. I'm so sorry. Says Crane Services in New York. Dude, that's straight up bottom of the funnel. So you're going straight bottom of the funnel, exact match. And what's really interesting about too is I promise you there's going to be semantic, what would you say, hierarchies. So like there's going to be certain terms that convert better for you. And the lesson you've got to learn that I learned the hard way over a really long period of time is make sure you're tracking who's worth more to you long term. Some of y'all have heard me talk about the difference between house and home, which I shot a video on per somebody's request. But you're going to figure out people that, maybe they're looking for a construction crane versus somebody looking for whatever, just the generic term crane. And you start to identify differences in the value of those prospects. Drill down into what's working for you from a search term perspective, and then realize that Google's working against you because it's trying to go broad and use broadimation for freaking everything. Hosni says, what's the recommended account structure for e-com businesses with PMAX? Is search plus PMAX only, search plus PMAX plus YouTube or dynamic remarketing? So Google says don't run PMAX with Smart Shopping, obviously, because PMAX is just going to take over Smart Shopping. But you don't want to kill your Smart Shopping accounts, because I think all that legacy data is going to be useful. And then you also want to be careful about Smart Shopping, because I don't remember when it is. I think it's July. All PMAX accounts, all Smart Shopping accounts get upgraded to PMAX, which is an absolute lie, by the way, because Performance Max requires a certain number of a very large collection of assets that your Smart Shopping campaigns don't have. So I don't know why they're saying they get upgraded to Performance Max outside of maybe they just start calling them Performance Max accounts, but you're not going to have the assets in order to actually upgrade them. So, but to your point, full account structure, man, this goes, what kind of products do you have, Hosni? Because this goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. There are very few golden rules right now, and I think in the future. Performance Max is so the strategy happens inside of Performance Max. So previously, the way we used to think about Google Ads is the strategy happened with the campaign structure and deployment. Now what's happening is Performance Max is the campaign, and the strategy is happening inside of Performance Max. And so it's the assets you're using, the audience you're using within those assets, the insights that you're capitalizing on to build new audiences, those types of things. So tell me a little bit more about your product, and then I'll see if I can Forrest Gump my way through some recommendations for you. Dave says, what kind of car do you drive? I drive a Genesis, Dave. Why do you ask? Sorry, Mosquito. What should I use, standard shopping or PMAX? It depends on the amounts of products data and your ability to properly optimize, right? Yeah, I wouldn't abandon standard shopping entirely, because the thing that I like about standard shopping is the ability to prioritize individual products. And then also some of the data acquisition right now is better inside of standard shopping. We have been teased by Google that the data available inside of Performance Max is going to increase, and the shopping data, the feed data inside of Performance Max is way better than standalone lead generation data. I would number one, always test, because you might learn something that I haven't learned. But I'm really excited about Performance Max's ability to reach the entirety of the funnel. Standard shopping is one very, very, very specific channel. Performance Max is all of Google's inventory. I think there was one really obscure exception that I saw in some of their documentation, but it wasn't anything that scared me off. And Performance Max has dynamic prospecting. So with standard shopping, you're going after people that are looking for those products. With Performance Max, you're going after people that Google thinks are going to buy. So and Performance Max, according to Google's own literature, you're not supposed to replace all of your campaigns with Performance Max. You're supposed to run it in conjunction with. Performance Max fills in the gaps. It's kind of the mortar to your brick, which is really exciting too. Aaron says, 95% of my clients are lead gen. How does PMax compare to discovery? I was under the impression that Performance Max is not for e-commerce only, but Performance Max is not proving to be the magic bullet for lead gen that it is for e-commerce. For e-commerce, it's amazing. And we've had some failures in e-com too, don't get me wrong, but it's really promising, like really exciting. For lead generation, it depends on how well you've structured your goals, how well you've structured your conversion actions, and what you're telling Google is a conversion. Interestingly, Performance Max for Solutions 8 didn't perform very well. And it didn't perform very well because outside of ad spend, it's really hard, and maybe I shouldn't say this could just be a limiting belief, but it's difficult for us to delineate the quality of a client on the front end. It's only until the 100,000 variables involved on the back end before we're able to say like, okay, this is a quality client. If I were better entrepreneur, what I'd be doing is, and I talked to Ryan Lebeck, who I'm sure a lot of y'all know, the Ask Method guy, brilliant cat. If you haven't read his book, it's just Ask. You absolutely need to. And Ryan has this idea that's genius. He's going to use his ask-driven surveys to capture first-party data. Well, I started thinking about that for Performance Max. I think we could use the ask method, especially on a what does HubSpot call it? It's like incremental data acquisition, progressive profiling. HubSpot calls it progressive profiling. So you get a little bit of data from user and then they go away, and then they come back, and you get a little bit more data from user and then they go away and they come back. You can start to value tier your data acquisition inside of Performance Max and tell Google what data is worth to you. This is difficult to do, not impossible, difficult to do, and more difficult if you don't have a lot of conversions. But that's the type of thing that I think could really juice Performance Max long term. Russell, hey, what up, Russell? Russell's my boy. Greetings from the Gold Coast. Russell says, hey, Kasim, is it possible to split a campaign and create a new campaign from an ad group and retain the data, or do you have to start from zero again? No, you're going to, if you create a new campaign, you're starting from zero, which is frustrating. But my opinion, and I have no way of proving this, I'm not too worried about the data in the ad group as long as you're going after the same conversion action, because I think it's the conversion action that keeps, it's like Facebook's pixel. It was the pixel that kept the data. I think it's the conversion action that keeps, like that demographic and psychographic data that Google's trying to get to the bottom of. I think they're appending it to the conversion action, which would make the most sense. They're like, oh, these people do this thing. And then the campaign types are just the routes through which you try to connect those two dots. So I think you're in good shape to go ahead and try to start a new campaign. And within campaigns, by the way, they have phenomenal split testing now that I really like Google's new split testing tool. They changed it and made a lot of the insights kind of in-app and native to the split testing process. So there's a lot you can do in a campaign if you don't want to necessarily completely start over, but you still want to split up and try different things. Christopher says, most of my clients are lead gen for niche and high ticket products. I was wondering how PMax performs for lead gen in combination with search. Here's what's going to happen is you're going to turn Performance Max off. You're going to get a bunch of leads, but they're all going to be crap. You're going to turn it off and you're going to say, oh, Performance Max doesn't work. And the reason is because for lead gen, we're just asking for contact information. And Google goes, oh, I can get you contact information. Boom, here you go. What we need to do is we need to put up barriers. So we need to say, I'm asking for contact information of people that are, have an enterprise level business or do $20 million a year in revenue or, have only have SaaS clients, like that type of thing. So try to find ways to attract the right client and repel the wrong client. In an interesting twist of fate, we're in a position where you don't want the wrong client converting, because then you're giving Google a thumbs up. You're saying, hey, Google, here's my goal. And once Google accomplishes that goal, now you have a $1 trillion machine learning mechanism that's going to go off and try to produce as many of those as it possibly can. Well, if the wrong person accomplished the goal, you're asking for more of that. So the reason Performance Max works so well for ecom is because it's cut and dry. Oh, average order value or average cart value of, I don't know, $120, and I got you 121. I won. I'm going to go do that again. Ecom it's clear to see value outside of lifetime customer value. I know, but that's always been a problem for ecom. For lead generation, we need to find a better way of illustrating quality leads to Google and then tiering that quality. And that's going to be on a case-by-case, customer-by-customer basis. And it's a pain in the ass. I had a comment on our YouTube channel. Somebody said that they were using on-site predictive indications of intent in order to feed Performance Max. And they were doing things, I thought it was really creative. They were doing things like time on site, videos watched, those types of things. I ran it past our strategy team and everybody yelled at me, because it might have been juicing the algorithm a little too soon, but I still like the idea. I'm the only one, just so y'all know. And there's everybody who works for me is smarter than me. I still like the idea because this is how we fixed the Facebook iOS update. If you're familiar, if you watched that video, we fed Facebook data, lied and said it was conversion data, but fed it data on people that we saw engaging before they actually converted. And the point there being that we weren't, especially if you're not driving enough traffic for Facebook to see conversions right out of the gate, you can take the thing that happens right before conversion. So they go to my plans and pricing page, or they looked at a lot of my case studies, or they've been back 3 times, and you can say, hey, this is a quality indication. So if you have those catalytic events on your website that are indications of potential quality prospects, that's worth doing. And inside of Tag Manager, you can set anything you want up as a conversion. Now, that's dangerous, by the way, because you're basically lying and you're saying this was a conversion where it wasn't. And I guess it's not really lying. You get to decide what the hell a conversion is. But it's dangerous because, like I said before, if you tell Google something's a conversion, it's going to go get you a ton more of those things. So I guess if you guess wrong, then you'll get a whole lot more of what it is that you guessed at for whatever that's worth. Lee says, starting a new lead gen campaign, which bidding strategy? So without knowing your business, and this is the other thing, y'all, I'm not trying to be mean to Waleed at all, by the way. I hope you don't take this as passive aggressive. It depends on all the things. It depends on all the things. And to the point that my business partner's now been making quite a bit, there are no more golden rules. With that said, I like manual. I like manual because I get to see what the ecosystem looks like before the machine starts to try to drive. Let me fix my camera here just a little bit. I feel like I'm off. There we go. I get to see what the ecosystem looks like before the machine starts to drive, and then I get to make adjustments from that vantage point. So you find stasis and then go, target CPA or whatever it is that you want. But again, it depends on more variables than I think a chat feed would necessarily let us have at. Hosni's saying furniture and mattress. Now I got to go remember what it is you asked me, Hosni. What's the recommended account structure? Oh, got it. Depending on how many SKUs you have, if you have a significant number of SKUs, first of all, mattresses are freaking nuts in terms of saturation. So be really careful there because I'm seeing a lot of dumb money in the mattress space. And that makes sense. If you drive down the street, every major shopping center has 2 mattress stores in it, minimum. As a matter of fact, I live in North Scottsdale. On Frank Lloyd Wright and 101, there's 3 mattress stores in 1 shopping center. You can fact check me on that. It's crazy. And so what you're going to see is that same type of, organic brick and mortar permeation is finding its way digitally. And there's a ton of people carpet bombing the airwaves with mattress ads. When you see that, sometimes it means that there's, an opportunity to find the margin, the long tail. Sometimes it means get the hell out and let all the other people who are hemorrhaging money do so until and what I see there is the market crashes and then there's nobody. And so it's this really crazy pendulum swing of, too much competition, not enough inventory. And then all those people burn off. And then it goes all the way to too much inventory, not enough competition. But furniture, I'd absolutely run a Performance Max campaign, which is effectively just smart shopping now. Google's rolling smart shopping into Performance Max. You're going to get all the benefits of smart shopping, the outbound, identifying who's buying and finding more people, the dynamic prospecting, and you're going to get the ability to prioritize new customer acquisition. Hardick says, thanks to the Solutions 8 team, I managed to increase lead gen by 50% using Performance Max at 50% of our average cost per conversion. That's freaking awesome, man. I love that. I love that. Dave says, because you're always talking about a Corvette. I don't remember ever saying anything about a Corvette. That's so funny. Someday, that's probably because of midlife crisis. That's what you're talking about, Dave. So I grew my hair out because I am in the middle of a midlife crisis. And it was either grow out my hair or buy a Corvette, which I haven't done and don't want to do. Alan McGear says, how can I buy your Google Ads course, which covers e-commerce specifically? So I can drop the course. Let me see if I can even go find the damn thing. You versus Google /e-commerce. Here's what I'm going to say. You can buy the course if you want to. It's youversusgoogle.com /e-commerce. But please keep in mind that the e-commerce course does not include content on Performance Max. So the e-commerce course is very, very, very valid. Everything that we went over, I'm actually really proud of it. It was an 8-day masterclass that we recorded. But it doesn't have anything on Performance Max, and Performance Max is really, really important. So as long as you're comfortable with that, then have at the course. I still offer people a refund as long as they watch the whole damn course and they can tell me what they didn't like about it. We used to offer a no questions asked refund, but then a bunch of assholes started stealing our content and then selling courses and then asking me for a refund, and that pissed me off. Hardick says, give it a test run. I'm in-house for a business that elite gen focus. We saw amazing results with PMax. And y'all, here's the other thing about Performance Max for ecom. Performance Max for high-end ecom produces leads. So we've got a client that's in the how do I say this? Medical device space. And they sell $30,000 medical devices. So we'll run heavy ecom campaigns, and then that will result in lead generation because people don't necessarily want to buy the device from the website, but we can use all of the awesome tools that are built specifically for ecom in order to get them to the site, and then they convert as leads, which is really cool. Thanks for that input, by the way, Hardik. I really appreciate you. Dave says, I have a furniture store on Smart Shopping. Would you suggest moving the entire thing to Performance Max, or takes 50 to 75% of their budget to Performance Max and leave Smart Shopping for now? If you run Smart Shopping and Performance Max in conjunction with each other, one's going to kill the other. And it's going to be Performance Max that kills Smart Shopping. So you'd want to separate whatever it is that you're running inside of Performance Max from Smart Shopping. I don't think there's any reason to keep Smart Shopping running alongside Performance Max, because Performance Max is going to do everything Smart Shopping does and more. So it's not like shopping versus standard shopping, or even in some cases, I can see a variable where you'd want Performance Max and standard shopping if there were things that you wanted to prioritize and you wanted to go manual or direct to the bottom of the funnel, whatever. Even that feels very academic to me. So if you're in Smart Shopping, just go do Performance Max. Now there's more you're going to need to build out, and y'all be careful, because with Performance Max, Google is saying, I've only got 8 minutes, by the way. Google is saying that if you don't provide the videos that it needs for its asset groups, it will create the videos for you. Don't let Google do this. Their videos are crap. They look like PowerPoint presentations, like old school 1998 PowerPoint presentations too, with like the slide ins and they're just terrible. So make sure you're giving Google all the assets that it needs, because it truly is going to use all of Google's inventory, but it's going to do it in a way that isn't necessarily to your advantage if you're not the one creating those assets. So Dave, definitely migrate over to PMax. Bet money, if your Smart Shopping campaign is performing, PMax is going to perform even better and allow you to prioritize new customer acquisition. Mike says, what's the best practice when it comes to putting together Performance Max campaigns for a store with hundreds to thousands of SKUs? One Performance Max campaign per category. This goes back, Mike, to us, the new mantra of there are no golden rules. Google's advice is one Performance Max campaign, period. I'm inclined to kind of agree with that, because you're going to let Google see the margin. If there's a product that you want to prioritize, because like you might say, hey, this is the one product that I don't have supply chain issues with. I actually have a surplus of inventory. I just want to get rid of it. Then you could separate them into a separate Performance Max campaign. But what I do right now is I would keep everything in one Performance Max campaign, and then you get to see from Google's perspective, and this is where you get to what do I say? You get to control this with your target ROAS. You get to see from Google's perspective what it's able to do. Now, if you have wildly different target ROAS goals, then you can separate those products accordingly. I will tell you, when we first started running Smart Shopping, and we were the first agency to figure Smart Shopping out, I don't mind saying. When we first started running Smart Shopping, we advised everybody to split their Smart Shopping campaigns up by margin. So low, medium, and high margin. And we thought that was strategically really sound. And it was for a lot of clients. However, what we found out was when we split it up, which was counter to Google's narrative, when we split it up, they didn't cross-pollinate from a remarketing perspective, which ended up being catastrophically damaging to some accounts, especially accounts where what they click on isn't always what they buy. And there are tons of accounts like that. For large-scale e-commerce stores with thousands of SKUs, more of them are like that than not. And you'll notice this because when you're in your dashboard, you'll see products with conversion values that you haven't sold any of. And that's because that product in Google's ad isn't a product, it's an ad. So somebody clicked on the ad, bought something else. The product that they clicked on is the one that got the credit. And if you separated those, then they click on product A, go to product B, but they're in two separate Smart Shopping campaigns. And now the remarketing doesn't cross-percolate, doesn't cross-pollinate. I don't know if that'll be the same problem inside of Performance Max, but it does. It reminds me of the issue. And so I'm a little hesitant to tell you to split it up against Google's advice. Not that I ever trust Google's advice wholesale. But I do think that there's some issues there. Where I would recommend, maybe even strongly recommend splitting things up, is when you figure out audiences that you want to prioritize, because Google inside of Performance Max, y'all, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. I'm so excited. In their insights, they're telling you what audiences are working, and the audiences are getting more and more and more and more and more expansive every day. Well, you want to create a new asset group for every audience that's working, but sometimes Google doesn't prioritize the asset group. And in this context, I mean specifically the audience that you want to prioritize, especially if let's say like the lifetime value of this customer is way higher for me than others, and Google can't see that because all it's seeing is the initial cart value. That's something I'd roll off into a separate Performance Max campaign. Dave says, with Google pushing us to move to broad match for automated bidding, are you finding that works better, or are you sticking with exact and phrase? Takes forever to review search terms. Yeah, I know, you're absolutely right. Y'all, first of all, reviewing search terms, I know it sucks and it's pain and it's tedious and whatever. It's absolute necessity. I saw somebody in I'm going to go make fun of somebody, and I'm going to feel bad if they watch this. But I saw somebody in Ed Leak's group, Forge, which is worth joining, by the way. He charges nothing, and it's phenomenal content. But somebody say, hey, how do I outsource my search term review? it's so tedious and it takes so long. And the problem is it's actually a really high value task. And you can't hand it off to a dummy because a dummy's not going to know what search terms are relevant. So I like Google's broad automation, which is broad match plus automated bidding. I've found that over time, Google will get there, quote unquote. They'll figure out what it is that people are searching for in order to catalyze a purchase. And they will, they'll find search terms that you would never have bid on. And then when you find the phrases that are working really well inside of broad automation, turn those into exact match, and then you can prioritize those accordingly. I've got 3 minutes. Sarang says, what would you recommend to scale an e-com account from 20K monthly spend to 30 to 35K monthly spend, maintaining the current ROAS, which is at 300%? Just so you know, maintaining your ROAS and increasing spend, those are two contradictory points. As you increase your spend, your ROAS will go down. Think of it as a bell curve, and you start in the middle. So you've got your bell curve, and Google's going to give you the most efficient traffic, of course. It's going to give you the most efficient traffic possible. And then you're going to say, well, I want more of this. And it's going to say, okay, but then the efficiency is going to dip. So now you might not be at the peak of the bell curve. You might be able to spend. So you need to ratchet it up. The old school mantra was don't increase more than 10% per week over week, and then monitor your ROAS. I don't know if that's true for PMAX anymore. Google's literature now directly says we can handle any increase you give us, which is absolute, complete, freaking bold-faced lie. But maybe Performance Max is going to be able to account for a little bit more of an increase. And the reason I say it is because we're no longer all bidding at bottom of the funnel direct intent traffic. We're now going after to Google's entire ecosystem, including outbound. So I can see where Google would have the ability to take a little bit more in the way of increase in spend. I hope that's a good answer. John says, I just came out of a meeting with a mattress store owner right outside of Scottsdale. That's so funny. Dave, you look too young to have a midlife crisis. I just don't plan on living long, Dave. Are no videos better than video? No. No videos are not better than. Here's the thing with Performance Max, there's no such thing as no videos. Google's going to create the videos regardless of whether or not you like it. If you run a Performance Max campaign, make sure you go. And y'all, you don't need badass high production value videos. Look at me. I'm in my house. This is my home office, and I'm on a 2-year-old webcam with a $50 microphone. It doesn't matter. If the quality of your content is good, it doesn't matter. If you have a new iPhone or an iPhone that's 2 years old even, you have a better camera than most people shot movies on 5 years ago. So go out, shoot your own videos. You're going to need 5. And what's frustrating about it is Google's going to burn through 4 of the 5. 80% of your videos are going to be irrelevant. And then you're going to need to create more videos. Get used to becoming content creation machines. John, what are your thoughts? Have you had manual CPC that gets 50% impression share, since 50% you're getting is cheaper than getting the scraps? You have a manual CPC campaign that gets 50% impression share. Oh, I understand. So the 50%, yeah. So the problem there, John, is impression share is going to be juxtaposed to rank. You can increase your impression share by decreasing your rank and spending the same money. But then, like you're saying, I think actually to your exact point, you're going to end up getting the scraps. It depends on the business you're in. If all customers are equal, then that's an okay thing to do. In my business, if I'm not at the top, people think we don't know what we're doing, obviously. And so we've noticed a massive dilution in lead quality, especially if I go play the maximized conversion game. I've got a jet, y'all. I've got another call in 60 seconds. I'm going to try to answer the last 2 questions, though. Dave Fogel says, John Rollo, looks like you were taking so late customers. That's okay. There's enough fish in the sea. I'm wishing you luck, John. Dave, how many of those books behind you have you actually read? You know what's funny about that is I end up keeping the books that I don't like, because books that I like I give away. And so if I don't like a book, I'm not as inclined to give it away. And so the tragedy of my bookshelf is that it's all these books that I don't like, and the books that I like I've given to other people. But I am a bookworm, and this is a fraction of what we have. My wife and I have, there's 4 or 5 bookshelves of similar sizes throughout the entire house. That's my little hobby, is collecting books, especially rare and antique books. Anyway, y'all, so grateful to you for your attention and the opportunity to talk to and at you. Thank you, everybody who watched. I promise we're going to try to do live more often. It was cool that I got to do this impromptu. I had no idea this many people would show up. That was super cool, too. And I'll be seeing y'all on the other side. Peace.